Hi everyone, Tara Doyle-Enneking, the CEO for the Puyallup Sumner Chamber here, ready for another Chamber Chatter Live vlog in our candidate series. We just wrapped up a phenomenal luncheon where we had the City of Puyallup, City of Sumner, City Council candidates, along with the Port Commissioner candidates. It was well attended, so informative, and just we're flying high from the great energy that was created in the room. And here we are, we grabbed Matthew Cuyle, who is running for City of Puyallup City Council Position 1. He is our special guest today, so welcome, Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
And we have
Luke Korum. I'm with Bill Korum's Puyallup Nissan. I'm also the chair of the Government Affairs Committee with the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce. And
we are at WSU's Puyallup Location Research and Extension Center, and this is Tatum Weed, the gal that's kind of running this whole show. So thank you so much to WSU for hosting this candidate forum today. They're a great partner with the Chamber, and we so appreciate this opportunity. So let's dive right in. This is, I think, maybe our 5th candidate now that we've spoke to. So we're having fun and really excited just to learn more, not just about what issues are important to you, but also to learn a little bit more about who Matthew Cuyle is and on the personal level. But we'll serve you right up with the first question, and why did you decide to run?
Well, never really saw myself as a politician. I served in the military, got out in 2006, and met my lovely wife. We have a wonderful family with 3 daughters. And we decided we were going to raise our family in Puyallup. We've lived here for 10 years, well, actually going on 12 now, and things started changing in our town. And so instead of just watching things happen, I decided to get involved. My wife and I both got involved with city council meetings about 4 years ago. We've gone to at least 50, 60, maybe even 70 council meetings.
Wow.
And just didn't seem like the change that we needed. So I've been talking to my wife, and we've decided that I was going to run. So here I am.
That's a real grassroots approach, just a concerned citizen showing up for 50 city council meetings. That's definitely someone engaged and cares. I see we have Kathy Horton and is it Terry Bethel?
Terry Bethel. Hi, Kathy and Terry.
Yeah, thanks for logging in, and certainly feel free to log in with any questions. We'll try to keep this fluid, but if you have a specific question, happy to hear from you.
Also, Linda chimed in and said, so excited to hear from you guys. So
terrific. Thanks for joining us. Well, I didn't realize that's how you got started. That's pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about your professional experience. What's your day job?
Well, I'm a licensed Washington State plumber. Currently, I work for the Federal Way Public School System. I'm one of 2 plumbers that take care of 40-plus buildings. I've been plumbing in the state for 20 years. I've owned my own business here in Puyallup for 10 years. We started in February of 2009, and we closed our shop up in into February this year. So 10 years.
Yeah, and being a business owner, I'm always interested in knowing how that experience was for you from, again, the way that city government interacted with you. So whether it was asks, needs, permitting along the way, how had that experience been for you?
I mean, it was good. Here in Puyallup, things for the most part went smooth. As a service plumber, we operated from South Seattle, Tacoma, Puyallup. We operated all over South Sound, Federal Way. And so I got to compare how different permitting areas and different licensing restrictions or application processes happened in different cities. Puyallup was always fine for me as far as licensing. Permitting on some projects kind of got tough, and inspections, Puyallup was a pretty tough inspection city.
You're getting some plumber love here, I see.
Yes,
love the plumbers. Thank goodness for plumbers.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But you mentioned going to city council meetings. Obviously, there were probably issues that rose, I guess, higher than others that did concern you and has compelled you to run. Can you speak a little bit about those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. My wife and I bought a house in the valley on the Puyallup River, and going on 5 years ago now, we started seeing quite a bit of drug activity, crime, and trash in our backyard, obviously being on the river. We raised 3 young girls. 5 years ago, it was us with a 6-month-old and a 4-year-old and a 8-year-old. And so they've come a long way and grown quite a bit, but what they've experienced and what we've experienced has been nothing short of tragic. Crime, our garage was broken into, about $7,000 worth of stuff stolen. We've had woken up with people camping in our backyard. Trash, I couldn't even count the amount of garbage bags I've thrown away in our own trash just from the trash that was left down. Needles in our yard, human waste in our yard. It's been kind of surreal. You just don't really understand how bad it is unless you get into those places. And it just happened that those places were our backyard.
Yeah, not good. So have you had an opportunity to give some thought to how you might combat that issue?
Well, the big issue we're dealing with downtown with the homeless is the addiction. I don't like to focus on the word homeless because there's so many individuals in our community and throughout our country that are homeless. There's been a couple times due to domestic violence. Myself as a kid ended up in temporary housing because otherwise we would have been homeless. And so, you know, there's family homeless, there's homelessness caused by situations that are out of your control, from, you know, businesses closing, getting laid off, foreclosure. But the impact we're dealing with here in Puyallup, for the most part, is coming from mental illness as well as addiction. And so we're doing great things in Puyallup through the Helping Hand House, St. Francis, to address homelessness in a broad spectrum for a lot of the families and individuals that find themselves in a tough situation. We're just not handling the addiction crisis as well as the mental illness in appropriate channels. Really, the only resources we have, many people would consider enabling. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but we need resources that actually strive to lift people out of the addiction cycle. What we know about addiction and mind-controlling substances is that it changes who you are. You're still human inside, but the compassion and love and things that we all feel become less important than the drug itself. And so a lot of times when we take citizens, service providers, and whatnot, we just assume that their mind is working like all of ours. And it's not that way. And so when you enable somebody with addiction issues, it allows them to focus just on their addiction and getting the drugs that they need. And so we need to make sure that our service providers are holding their clients accountable, making sure that the services they provide, whether it be food, shelter, or anything like that, also comes with the stipulation that they're cleaning up. Clean and sober houses only work if they require their clients to be clean and sober. So we need to make sure that resources are being used and taxpayer funds are being used responsibly, and that it's going towards people that truly want help out. We're going to continue to have a problem with homelessness when it comes to addiction. Some people are just too comfortable living like they are. And until we focus on what addiction is, what breaks the cycle, and make sure that we're using accountability and expecting that of the addicts, that they're accountable for their actions and that they know that those resources are there, that's when we can lift up their self-dignity and give them something to believe in themselves, because they're earning it, and make sure that all those resources are there when they're ready to make that choice.
That's good. I like the in-depth thinking you put into that. I noticed on your campaign flyer here, you put just something that sticks out: increased parking and decreased business regulations. So I guess it's a two-part question. Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example, maybe one of those a piece, what you're thinking on those?
Making sure that any development downtown is coming with adequate parking, as well as making sure that Sound Transit is accountable for their riders. They're here to provide a service for transit out of the downtown, but many of those people are driving into our downtown and clogging our streets and creating congestion, and those places that they park compete with our businesses and their customers. And so as far as parking, we just need to make sure that our growth is focused on making sure that we're providing enough parking downtown for our customers as well as our employees that are going to work. And
are you talking about like parking structures, garages, and such?
Just more so focused on. I mean, the market is going to control that. Yeah. If somebody wants to take a property and put in, pay parking, that's one thing. Just more with expansion, that we're not expanding and expecting the new customers to be sharing what's already limited in parking, making sure that development is providing parking for their, whether it be businesses or tenants that are staying in those facilities.
So we have a question from Lisa Schultz. First question, Lisa, says, I just logged on, so I might have missed it, which you haven't. It just says, Matt, who endorses you?
I got quite a few endorsements. I don't have a list here, but I'm endorsed by Tracy, the owner of Prana Hot Yoga. I'm endorsed by multiple businesses, including Cherry Creek Salon, the owner of the Forum, as well as a ton of citizens, including Jim Castema, city councilman, former Mayor Kathy Turner, and I really don't have a list here.
You just gained one right here, Linda Bandy, I think it says. It says, I certainly endorse him from what I've heard so far. So there's one.
Well, thank you, Linda. There's another one.
Yeah. So we also have one of your opponents has logged on as well, Curtis Thiel. Hi, Curtis. Thank you. Kyle Hartke. Thanks for logging in. And Steph Hilfer, who really was the inspiration for us to do these vlogs. Yeah, thanks so much for logging in. We appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about what you do for fun.
Wow. I don't think there's much more fun in my life than spending time with my kids. We were playing wiffle ball in the backyard yesterday. I like to go hiking. I like to hike with the kids. They love hiking, especially Corbin, our middle daughter. We go to Mariners games. We go to every park you can imagine in Puyallup nice. And Sumner, for that matter. We do a lot less hiking the trail. We'd like to do more our first 5 years here. I don't think you'd catch us not hitting the Riverwalk Trail at least 3 or 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. We like to spend time with family, barbecues, our neighbors. Yeah, we like to spend a lot of time in downtown, mm-hmm. from getting Slurpees to going to the park, the library.
We like to hear that.
Yeah.
Keep it local.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So you have a primary because you have two opponents. Yes. So that's August 6th for those of you curious when you need to vote by. Ballots did drop today as well, so you're going to learn more about these candidates from the pamphlets, and we'll have an opportunity to vote. So vote early, ask these candidates some good hard questions directly. I know they'll all be interested in speaking to you. I had wanted to see, so with 2 other candidates, what could you maybe discern as some distinguishing differences between the 3 of you?
Well, I think there's quite a bit. I share some things in common with the other 2, and I also share some differences. Obviously, military service, I share with Robin. Maybe different aspects in military service, but same mm-hmm. culture.
Yeah.
And with Curtis, I share that we're both business owners here in Puyallup, mm-hmm. and served a lot of Puyallup. What's different is that I'm a father. I'm a father to 3 beautiful daughters, young daughters. I'm not your typical 50, 60-year-old candidate. I'm a young guy. I've worked hard my entire life, and I have values of what a family community should be. And I take action if it doesn't feel like I'm getting what I should be getting from my community. Because I think everybody deserves to walk around safely. I support my mom. She's disabled. She's legally blind, so she's never driven. We bought the house next door to us end of last year to move her over here from Eastern Washington so I can help take care of her. But being legally blind since birth, she's never driven. And so that's part of why we moved to Ellensburg. It's a smaller town that she could walk and get resources at the grocery store, walk to the doctor's office and all that. And so moving here has been good, but with her disability and with her age, it's just not really a safe place for her to be walking. She could become a victim. And I've heard a lot of our elderly in this community with concerns from going to the post office, to the grocery store, all the crime. If you've been to Fred Meyer's, Walmart, Safeway, I mean, I don't think there's a time of the day you can't go there and have somebody walking out with stuff they're stealing. And they're brazen. I mean, they'll walk out with the whole cart full of food that they never paid for. So, you know, I just think we just need some younger blood, somebody who's willing to say, hey, enough's enough for our community. We need to make sure that we're enforcing our laws when it comes to drug use, theft, property crime, and say, if you want to come here for resources, for help, to get a helping hand up, we're all about it. I don't know anybody that thinks keeping somebody in the grips of addiction is a good thing. But we have to focus that we're not wasting those taxpayer dollars on resources that enable. We need to make sure that if you're here for help, that you're invested in it too. We're not here to support you, and that you can continue, you know, committing crimes against our city, or continue with your drug use.
I think 3 questions rolled in. You got them all?
Yes, I think I have them memorized. So the first one had to do with something to do with you and fireworks. The second one had to do with property rights, and the third one was just talking about traffic. So if you want to spend as much or little time on each of those questions, starting whatever one you want.
What was the one on fireworks?
It said that something
clarify a situation.
It says, I certainly endorse him. That's a good one. One more question, if I could. If you could clear up the firework issue I've been reading about. Happy to see.
You live with. I can't.
Anyway, it just has to do. Oh, there it is. Happy to see you live with the. Live with the chamber.
Oh, live with the chamber, not live.
So,
do you live with the chamber?
Firework issues. I've been asked quite a bit in regards to, do I support a city ban on fireworks? I don't necessarily do. I served in combat arms and tanks. I like bangs. I like, you know, color skies.
Things that go boom in the night.
Yeah, so much so that we get all the tickets to the Mariners games for their firework nights.
Yeah.
My daughters love it. My oldest daughter, her birthday's June 27th. So this year we decided to do 4th in our neighborhood. We always do. There's about 100 people throughout our neighborhood that comes, and we do kind of a shared firework display, which is always fun. She chose to do her birthday on that day so she could have friends over, and we do it safely. Some of those fireworks that we bought had a bunch of stuff thrown in, but some of those were bottle rockets and firecrackers, and we voluntarily surrendered those to the marshal and for disposal. And I'm guessing that's what that has to do with. But I do not support a firework ban in our city. I think our laws are good. I think our times are good. And I just wish everybody would spend the time, if you're going to light them off, to make sure to clean up your neighborhood like we do.
Also, the traffic one had to do more with so just with all the construction, how do you feel about traffic police being utilized? The traffic is crazy. It could be sped up. So just more to do with
As opposed to like flaggers.
If we had someone directing.
yeah.
There could be a system that is set up better. Obviously, timing matters when construction's being done. I think we've adopted in this community the idea that we can close down roads or bridges for extended periods of time, which puts a hamper in on everything. I think we need to focus on timing of construction as well as routes that support the traffic that is going to be going through there during those times during rush hour. We have multiple obstacles that we have to face here in Puyallup with the train tracks and the river. And we need to make sure that we're focusing that construction and accommodating that traffic that is already navigating a tough situation with those obstacles.
And then Patty Denny's stay consistent. She's asked every one of the candidates what are his views, so your views, on property owners?
What are my views on property owners? Man, there's a lot of different property owners.
Rights.
I'm assuming
Property
rights.
rights.
Yeah.
Yep.
I believe if you're falling within the zoning, I don't think you can just take and build a 10-unit apartment that has 400 square foot condos on a quarter-acre lot. I mean, we got to be realistic, but as far as your property rights, it's your property. If you're buying it, I think city and law enforcement should, for the most part, stay out of your property and your rights. It's when you try to do something on your property that bleeds over onto the neighbor. Like, you can't build right up to the property line, right? Because what happens is it creates fire hazards and everything else, fire spreading between properties. So we have ordinances and zoning codes to keep this to a limit, but we need to make sure that you bought your house, you own your property. Changing that midstream after you bought that is never a good idea. So we need to make sure we're focused that our zoning protects those rights as an individual, and we also, as property owners, need to understand that your neighbors also have rights, right? It doesn't end with you, so you got to be empathetical to them too, and make sure that what you're doing on your property is not going to affect them, because they too have rights.
Fair enough. It looks like someone's thanking you for your donations to Helping Hand House. Sounds like that's an organization that you mentioned earlier that you've been supportive of. So, hey, I know we already kept you almost 2 hours for a candidate forum. Yeah. I think we've covered a lot of ground in a very quick time here, and appreciate the questions that are rolling in. But any final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with, just about who you are and why they should vote for you?
Sure. I'm Matt Cuyle, father of 3 wonderful ladies, husband to, in my opinion, the most amazing wife. I've supported my mom with her disabilities. I served in the Marine Corps, graduated high school, owned a business, worked for the school district, owned 2 homes here in the valley, and I believe that here in Puyallup we need to protect what we have when it comes to we're a grow old in place city, which I love. We should be protecting our elders. Too many times we don't as a society, so we need to focus on protecting them and protecting the innocence of our kids and making sure that they can enjoy being a kid. They got a lot of living to do once they grow up. We need to let them live as kids. Yeah,
hey, well, you certainly have a heartfelt intentions for this community, and appreciate sort of your, like I said, the grass fruits that you've been eating.
Yeah, grassroots.
The grassroots efforts you have to just be compelled to be engaged, and obviously your willingness to serve is appreciated. So thank you for throwing your hat in the ring.
Thank you for your service.
And thank you for your service.
From Paul.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Luke, again, always a pleasure teaming up with you. Audience, chamber friends, so appreciate it. We'll be next week live with Charlotte Newman, our first candidate that we'll be hearing from on the City of Sumner side of things. So thanks again for logging in. We will make sure this gets posted on our chamber chatter, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Go Cougars.